Okay, so this is called Instant Shudder FIXX from LUBE, and this is kind of the go-to to fix a shuddering transmission. Does it work? Yes. Let's get that out of the way right now. I recently acquired a 2015 F-150 2.7 liter EconoBoost. And I noticed that when I was feathering the throttle or just a light acceleration, climbing through, I would say, third, fourth, fifth, maybe sixth gears, there would be like a bump, like you hit a bump. Even on a perfectly smooth road, it'd be like you hit a bump. And then you might feel a shudder or a vibration, or something kind of like that, like hitting the little things on the side of the road where they got the gouges, and it'd just be for a second or two, and then that's pretty much it. And it was barely noticeable, to be honest with you. Really had to kind of key in on it to realize that it was doing it. And so some people will recommend changing the, let's see, what was the first one? To look for misfires. Looking for misfires on the engine that could make you think that the transmission might be shuddering. Another fix to look at is to do a flush on your transmission. Drop the pan, clean everything out, put the pan back in, fill it back up to full. Of course, you need to run it to heat it up. And once you get it to run in heated temperature, add more until it's at the fill level. And then you would do that again at a certain interval to kind of flush the transmission out, get any kind of goober gollies or whatever. And so that is one of the cheaper fixes, they say, before you get into, and also replacing the filter in the bottom of the pan. And also be of note that it's my understanding, even with the VIN number, you have to be careful because there's a time frame on the 2015s, I believe, where there is more than one upspout on the filter. And I think it's just a certain range there, made within specific months period. And I don't know what that is. I just seen a video where someone was talking about it. And that the normal one won't fit. So anyway, I noticed that on the transmission. And I was going to do the flush with the draining what was in the pan, cleaning everything out, putting it all back together, adding more, filling it back up, and going from there, which that would have fixed my problem. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do either that flush or complete change out, which is 13 quarts of, what is it? Ford Mercon LV, at $13 a quart. But I think I'm just going to do the partial swap out, the flush option. But I'm going to do that later on down the road. Another fix is looking at your shift solenoids under there. Once you get the pan down, you can see all your shift solenoids. And so that's another possible or potential issue that causes that shudder. But this fixed it. Okay, so what is this? This restores the lubricity of your transmission. So let's kind of read on this a little bit. The original instant shudder fix. This is the #1 shudder fix used by professionals. I don't know about that, but okay. Use at the first sign of any automatic transmission shudder, noise, or vibration. Instantly eliminates torque converter shudder. Results are immediate. That is absolutely true. Within your first drive, you should see a difference. As a matter of fact, I added this, and before I got all the way out the driveway, I couldn't even tell it was shifting. Rode a mile down the road and tried my best to make it shudder, and I could not tell it was shifting. I mean, it is just super smooth, like a brand new transmission again. Safe use in all automatic transmission except with Ford Type F, ATF, and CVTs. Then, what do they explain on the back? LUBE GARD Instant Shudder Fix is a concentrated friction modifier formulated especially for eliminating torque converter shudder problems instantly. It is the #1 shudder fix used by professionals and provides 4 times less wear than regular ATF. Instant Shudder Fix is compatible with conventional or synthetic ATF, automatic transmission fluids, not for use in Ford Type F ATF or with CVTs. If you are unsure what your transmission, blah, blah, okay, so basically, I mean, I call it restores the lubricity. Okay, I don't know. This right here reduces friction or whatever, adds. I guess once your transmission oil fluid begins to burn, or some Ford transmission fluids will get dark quick, and mine is dark. Then I guess it increases the friction and causes the torque converter to shudder. And so this right here reduces that friction and stops that shudder. And like I said, it does it instantly. Let me go through this and stick around. We're going to talk about this more towards the end of the video. I just want to explain the whole deal. There's nothing else in there. That's all you get. I bought this at, what was it? Advance Auto Parts, Advance, O'Reilly's, and AutoZone's all same price, like $18 or $17 and something, tax and all $18. And so it just comes in this little rubber tube with a little tit sticking out the end of it. And so what you do, and I'll try to put a picture, if I can find one on the internet, of the dipstick. So where's it located? If you climb underneath the passenger side of the truck, right behind the tire, basically in line with the hinge of the door, and you don't have to get far up underneath there, and you look up and you can see the little dipstick sticking. It's about that long, and it's not really a dipstick, it's more a cap that will fit, that basically secures or seals the dipstick down in there. Take that cap off and the dipstick may come out with it, but it's just a plastic dipstick you can stick back in there, pull it out, clean it off real good, put it back in there, and then pull it out and check it. And it's got marks, A and B mark up towards the top, that'll show you where your transmission fluid should be, and you should check it hot. So I just recommend, driving 4 or 5 miles down the road and back again. It should be hot enough by then that you should get an accurate reading. And also you'll have enough room to put this in there. So get under there. Be careful because the catalytic converter and the exhaust comes right by this thing. And it is hot. I think it's a 17 or 19 millimeter, depending on your model, make, and all that of the truck. Open it up, take the cap off. The dipstick may stay in there. Pull the dipstick out. Set that off to the side. You'll take and clip the top off of this, and then you can set up there, and in case there's a little residue, just put it up in there and sit there and squeeze on it and squeeze it down in there. Just watch the edge of your feel so you don't overflow. And if you do this cold, you'll probably overflow. If your transmission's already full, it's not low, then you'll most likely overflow with just this little bit. My truck, I'm sitting on my driveway, and it's a slight incline on the driveway. It's not flat. It's just a slight incline. And so that's where I put it in. So I definitely had enough room to go ahead and get in there. And so it took every bit of it. Then I put the dipstick back in, screwed the cap on, screwed it tight, cinched it up real good, and took off down the road. And I mean, literally, I never felt a shudder again. And I've driven it probably 25, 30 miles since I did that. absolute honey butter smooth, brand spanking new. Feels like a brand new transmission right now. And I will come back and edit this if that changes. So my plans. This fixed it. I'm going to buy the transmission fluid, so I'll have it on hand. And then I'm going to go ahead and research to make sure I've got the right filter. So the filter has one large upspout towards the front, and when you take your pan off, it should hang. If it don't drop down and hang, then it's got that second fill spout that'll be right about over here that goes up into the bottom of the transmission. And so the regular filter will not work. You have to have the one split year model filter that has both upspouts. This one is about 6 or so inches long, and this one's about 3 inches long, off to the side. It's a real short one. So I'm going to make sure I got the right one, and am good to go. And so right now my truck's at 131,000 miles. Ford recommends you change your transmission fluid at 150,000 miles. I don't think you should. I don't think you should listen to that. I think you should listen to Ford Tech Maku Loco and other ones. I've been watching Ford Tech Maku Loco for a long time through my 6.0 diesel F250 and my F150 5.4 liter with those spark plugs, which I changed. No broken ones. Perfect deal. Anyway, long story. So I trust the guy, and he recommends that you change it 30 to 60,000 miles. I don't know when the last time this was changed. Chances are it could have never been changed. So I think if you do a full transmission change out, flush everything out of it, and drain the transmission completely, and start over from scratch with fresh transmission fluid, then I feel like you can go longer. It would be my call that you could probably, get up to that 75 to 100,000 mark. But I don't really think you should go over the 100,000 mark because my trucks, if it's original oil in it, it's gone 130,000 miles and it's just started doing that shudder. And it was just bare. I mean, you couldn't even really notice it at first. So it had just gotten into that. So, I mean, I think they're pretty accurate on how long the oil lasts. But there's a lot of factors in that as far as break-in. Once it's broken in, all of that fine metal dust is not necessarily all collected up on the magnets in the bottom. How much pulling you do, how hard your pulling is, whether you're pulling over capacity all the time, up inclines, down inclines, all of that makes a difference on how long your transmission fluid's going to last. So I think it's your personal call. I think if you do a complete and full change out of all your transmission fluid, and you rarely do any towing or hauling, and you're not living in the mountains where you're constantly going up or down hill, steep inclines and all that, I think you can get that 100,000 miles easy. I don't think you should go 150 even on flat ground all day long, never towing anything with a light foot. I don't think you should do the 150, but 75 to 100 I think would be very doable. Just pull your dipstick every now and then, check it, see what it looks like. Every oil change, take a look at it. Every 3 or 4 or once a year, however your driving habits are, take a look at it. So that's what I would recommend in watching videos, watching professional people talk about this stuff, and my personal experience with Fords. I ain't gonna tell you to do whatever. You make your call. I would stand with Maku Loco. I think that for him, like I said, I trust him. At 30 to 60,000 miles, I think is fine. I personally, I think it's a little overkill. I think you could go longer, depending on your tow haul. And anybody on the internet that gives you a this is what I think you should do, is going to go or err in the side of caution. And so, because they don't know how you're going to tow, pull, haul, or whatever, and that's going to make a difference. So anyway, with that said, if you do the flush, in other words, I think it's 4, maybe 5 quarts you end up using, because when you drop your pan, it's going to drain ever so much out, clean it all up, button it all back together with a new filter, and fill it back up again. And you're basically just filling up your transmission, your fluid reservoir in the bottom of the transmission. And so if you go that route, my opinion is you really need to, get into that 30,000 mile range, the lower end of that estimate, because you're only doing half the issue. You're only doing a small portion of it, and so that fluid is older and it's got more use on it, and you're doing a partial change out, so you're reviving it to a certain extent. Putting this stuff in there is also reviving the transmission and kind of building it back up again. But let's now talk about my best understanding of the potential danger, damage, and harm that this can do. I don't think this is going to hurt anything as long as you follow your safety guidelines and what the manufacturer calls for as being what, don't use it here, and go by the rules and regulations that they've got set. So with that said, okay, try to diagnose try to figure out for sure that what the issue is. And what I mean by that is where this could cause harm is you could actually, your torque converter could be going out. You could be having a torque converter that is on the beginning stages of dying. You put this in there and it masks as that torque converter gets worse, as it gets more damage. And so dropping that oil pan, you get to check your magnets and the metal content in the fluid. And so a fine putty, powder, or whatever stuck to your magnets is what they say you should expect. But chips of metal, chunks, anything, gritty or solid, you shouldn't have. And so when you do the flush, you get to see what's on your magnets and you get to double check. And that'll tell you, wait a minute, this isn't going to fix the problem. It'll help, but the torque converter is likely starting to go out, or the transmission itself. And so being in my case that this was a just starting, I put this in there, it fixed it, and I'm going to go a little while, and then I'm going to do the flush so I can check those magnets on that pan and make sure that I don't have any issues there. And if I don't have any issues there, then I feel comfortable going back in there with this a 4 or 5 quart flush, and doing that, at some point here in the near future, then following it up again in 30,000 miles and doing it again. And I feel comfortable that would be a really good deal to keep, to push it along for a longer period of time. But this can be dangerous in the fact that you could actually have serious damage to your transmission, or the beginnings of serious damage to your transmission. This masks it until it is a catastrophic failure or serious damage to your transmission. Now, how does that affect you? Well, here's one of the scenarios. So if you've been dealing with this shudder for a long period of time and just ignored it, I think you need to go straight to the flush or bring it to a transmission tech. That would be my assumption in that particular case, because you could be to the point that you actually have damage. So if in that case you put this in there and it covers it, then you could be to the point that you end up having to replace your entire transmission. when it goes down, because this mass, as it got worse and worse, the damage, this masked and allowed it to continue function at a better state or in a better condition. So another, in my opinion, worst case scenario is you start to feel, like in my case, it just starts to do a little bit of a shudder, a little shift jerk or whatever. And you put this in there and hey, you're fixed. I can go 100,000 miles. So you just keep on going, never shudders again. Hey, everything's great. One day your whole transmission goes down. So instead of replacing a torque converter, now you're replacing a torque converter, transmission, and the whole set. Whereas had you did a flush in the first place, you would have saw metal parts or something, maybe given you a idea that something was fixing to happen. And you just replace a torque converter, or something smaller. The damages get worse over time, and this can mask it, is what I'm trying to say. So in my case, that's why I said this fixed the issue. So I'm confident in my personal self that it's just old transmission fluid and not anything bad with the transmission. I don't intend to do any towing, hauling, or anything like that. So I'm going to let this go for a while, see how well it works, let the miles build up a little bit. And once I get to that next stage, and I don't know if I'm going to go 5, 10, 15, 20,000 miles. I really don't know, but I'm not going more than 20 because that'll put me at the 150. So, and I don't know if it's ever been changed. I haven't really tried to look up the history yet, but I will, and that'll change my mind if there is a regular service history on this truck, but I'll have to run the VIN to do that. But I do fully intend at probably somewhere between 5 and 10-ish thousand more miles, unless that shudder shows up again, doing that flush and seeing where we're at there. So that's just my thoughts on this. I feel like this is a great temporary fix. It works. But this right here is $17 or $18, say $20 or less, and your shudder goes away. Well, you still had issues with your transmission fluid, and who knows for how long, could have caused excessive or exaggerated the wear in your transmission. So I still think the transmission fluid needs to be addressed, because at that particular point, it has shown you that it is losing its ability to do what it needs to do. So I feel like this is a temporary fix, a good temporary fix, and it could potentially be a permanent fix, but I'm not going to use it as that. So even at 5,000 miles or 10,000 miles, even if it's still not shuddering anymore, I'm doing the flush probably before the 10, probably within 5, probably maybe the next oil change. So we'll see. We'll see what it is. But I'll try to keep you updated and come back to this and maybe pin a comment to this right here, or post one in the community tab on the homepage if something changes with this. So if you got any comments or questions, please put them below. I would ask that you would please comment below with, did this help you? Did it not help you? Did it cause you headaches? Did you cover a issue that became a catastrophic issue because you put this in there? Please share, because that's my point in making this video. I'm not making this video to act like I know what I'm talking about. I'm going off of professionals that I have watched and looked at on YouTube, and did a lot of research and reading on the internet to come to my conclusions. So I want to hear your stories so that we can all learn. Did I make a mistake? Should please don't stay quiet. Please comment so that someone else thinking about using this can know, hey, my story's great. They read a bunch of stories on the internet about they're great, but if you had a bad experience, I need you to comment so we can add that to this collection of information so that someone can make a intelligent, informed decision on whether they want to try it or not. So I appreciate you. I thank you. and I'll see you next time. Your time is very important to me, and I thank you for spending it here with me. Thanks, and God bless.